and the omnibus. So I was forced into the Archers when I was a child. And look, it's come back to bite me later on. I'm awash with this stuff.
The Archers is the world's longest-running radio show, with more than 15,000 episodes broadcast. Despite being a rural flavour show, The Archers is recorded in the heart of...
Welcome back to the Deep Dive. So today we're looking at some really complex source material.
Yeah, it's this collision, isn't it? High-stakes family drama, but also real business problems unfolding fast.
Exactly. We've got 3 generations involved, and honestly, they're mostly, well, failing to communicate.
Under huge pressure, too, and all set against the backdrop of a working farm, which adds its own layer of stress.
So our mission here in this deep dive,
it's really to unpack how these immediate practical crises like sick animals, dealing with an estate, how they just expose these long-term festering issues.
Things like leadership, succession, grief, too.
Absolutely. And the sources we have, they're almost like a case study in communication breakdown, you know?
Yeah.
What happens when you just don't have those tough conversations?
It's incredibly dense. We're basically tracking 3 big things happening all at once.
Right.
First, this health crisis with the cows. Second, all the logistics and emotion around settling the estate.
Mm-hmm.
And third, these really deep tensions about who is actually going to, well, lead the farm. Who has the trust? Who's competent?
It's a perfect storm, like you said. And what's key, I think, is you can watch it happen almost in real time.
How the practical stuff just turns into psychological battles.
Exactly. Every little logistical hiccup becomes ammunition, doesn't it? To argue for or against someone taking charge.
Okay, so let's start where the immediate pressure is most obvious. The farm itself, the health of the operation.
Yeah, the source material paints a pretty worrying picture. There's talk about more than one case of mastitis.
Which for a dairy herd is serious. A threat to income, to viability.
And what's really telling is how desperate they seem about getting veterinary help.
Alistair, the vet.
Right. He's apparently doing his work for nothing, which forces them into this, well, this slightly flimsy cover story.
That he's just coming to see the cows as a friend.
Yeah. And that one detail, it just reveals how stretched they are. Professionally, financially, they can't even seem to absorb necessary costs right now.
And that fragility, that financial strain, it leads straight into this big confrontation between Alice and her father.
Oh, yeah. He's just back from a lovely holiday. Got a great tan, apparently.
And he immediately tries to have a very brief chat about the farm. The timing is just, wow.
It's more than just bad timing, though, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's really a failure to prepare for a crisis.
Alice sees it.
She absolutely calls him out, accuses him of marching in here demanding to talk, only because he's finally realizing he might have screwed up.
She connects his being away, his whole reactive style, to the chaos they're in now.
Yeah, she says something like, maybe that's part of the problem. It's not just a daughter shouting at her dad.
No, it feels like more.
It's like an employee challenging a failed strategy, you know, reacting instead of anticipating.
And if we just pause on that for a second, it really shows a pattern, doesn't it? This sort of passive leadership.
Definitely. The leader, the father, is away while the crisis builds up, comes back refreshed.
And then tries to fix a systemic problem with a quick, brief chat.
Exactly. Passive leaders often do that. They mistake reacting frantically for being decisive. They avoid committing until things are critical.
And then it's just a rushed, probably poorly thought out response.
Precisely. But you know, amidst all that anxiety, there's this interesting counterpoint with Josh.
Right. He insists on staying to wait for Alistair, the vet. Keeps Esme company.
Yeah, and he uses this great line to sort of justify being there.
What was it? Something about tea.
He says it would be pretty mean to refuse me a cup of tea in a warm kitchen when we're doing all this work in the cold for free.
That's good. It shows, well, emotional intelligence, maybe.
I think so. It shows the high emotional bandwidth needed for that kind of work. Josh gets that even when things are awful, cows sick, everyone's stressed, basic human needs matter. Warmth, company, tea.
It's sort of practical compassion.
It is. And it really contrasts with that frantic, ego-driven stuff happening elsewhere. He's providing support while the leadership is kind of imploding.
Okay, let's pivot then. Let's talk about the deeper issue that all this immediate pressure is stirring up. Who gets the farm?
Yeah, the succession crisis. And Alice finally steps up, doesn't she? Makes her claim.
Very clearly. I do want you to consider me for the job. And she reframes her life a bit.
Says she loves the stables, sure, but
It's not a career. And she genuinely...
Introducing the Archer's Mug, where elegance meets everyday comfort. Crafted from premium white ceramic, designed with vibrant peekaboo colors inside, simple, modern, and stylish. Start your day the Archer's way, with warmth, familiarity, and the comfort of voices you've come to love. As the stories unfold on the Archers, let this mug become part of your daily ritual, a small reminder of life in Ambridge. Practical for every home, dishwasher and microwave safe. Available in 2 sizes, 11 ounces and 15 ounces, designed to fit your lifestyle. Enjoy your favorite drink in a mug that connects you to Britain's most beloved countryside story, The Archers. For more information, and to order your very own The Archer's Mug, follow the link below and make it part of your daily routine.
misses the farm work.
and that declaration, it forces the father to defend why he's been avoiding this.
Because looking at the sources, it's the history of mistrust that's really blocking things, isn't it?
Absolutely. He'd offered the farm to Rory too, remember?
Right, and his excuse for offering it to both, sort of non-exclusively.
Was that no one was actually prepared to commit at all at that stage? He claims he didn't have a solid commitment from any of you.
But do you think he really needed that solid commitment, or was he just stalling?
I tend to think the latter. Using their ambiguity maybe as an excuse to avoid making a really difficult choice, one that would definitely upset someone.
Ambiguity is kind of the easy way out for passive leadership.
It really is. And Alice's point about Rory is sharp.
She says Rory gave up his job at Bridge Farm at the drop of a hat.
Exactly. Because inheriting this farm is what he's always wanted.
And the father's reaction to that.
It's kind of devastatingly honest in a way. He admits, I had no idea he's basically expecting the place to come to him.
Wow. That shows a massive, years-long failure to actually understand his own kid's core ambitions.
It really does. And that lack of connection, that failure, it pushes Alice to confront her biggest insecurity.
She asks him straight up, doesn't she? If her past addiction was part of his hesitation, his doubts about her.
The fact she even has to ask,
Yeah.
it shows how deep that insecurity runs, how much damage the indecision has caused.
And he denies it immediately, says, I have zero doubts about you.
But the trust is clearly damaged. His past actions or inactions, they speak louder than his words now, you know?
Yeah, that reassurance feels almost necessary, but maybe not fully convincing for her.
And layered on top of all this internal stuff, there's the external distraction.
The castle opportunity Rory's pushing.
Right. This potential business venture seems controversial. Alice keeps rejecting it, tells her dad to just say no for heaven's sake.
What do you make of that castle thing?
Well, it feels like a classic case of strategic deflection, maybe.
How so?
When your core business, the farm, is struggling and your relationships are strained, focusing on some shiny new high-risk thing can feel like an escape.
Right, divert energy and maybe capital away from the messy reality.
Exactly. But Alice sees through it. She knows they can't handle big outside risks when their own foundation is so shaky.
Okay, so we've got the farm crisis, the succession battle, but there's this heavy emotional layer underneath it all too.
Funeral planning, yeah.
Yeah.
Settling the estate.
And these logistical tasks, they actually force some unexpected moments. Vulnerability, insight.
That's where you see the human details really come through, like the debate over hymns.
Oh yeah, Bread of Heaven versus Abide with Me.
And Bread of Heaven wins because it's considered an absolute banger, which is quite a description for a hymn.
It is. But those small choices, the music, the memories, they become really important acts of, well, remembering the person properly.
Definitely. And then there's the big logistical win. Getting into the deceased's laptop.
Ah, the password hunt.
Yeah. And the source material gives us the password. Eric Moran.
More Cayman-wise.
Exactly. A show the deceased apparently loved. The speaker even says it was the only time they ever saw him cry with laughter.
Wow.
Yeah.
That one password, it's like a little keyhole into his personality.
It really is. A profoundly simple insight, known only within the family. And finding the will on there, that immediately changes things.
Takes him out of that feeling of stasis.
Right. Suddenly there are big decisions to make. Applying for probate. Logistics actually create some emotional forward movement.
Speaking of emotional complexities, let's go back to the music. The final song choice, Bring Me Sunshine.
Controversial, yeah. Because, as someone admits, the father didn't really bring sunshine because he was a miserable so-and-so.
Which is brutally honest.
It is.
Yeah.
But then Josh, again, provides this insightful reframe.
He says it's not an offer of sunshine.
It's a request for it. And that little twist, it lets the family embrace the song, it makes it meaningful, speaks to their complex reality rather than just being ironic.
That's quite clever. Then there's the actual physical loss of the family home. Miranda's buying the farmhouse.
And Alice's reaction is interesting, isn't it? Quite resigned.
She mentions her mother's amazing kitchen getting ripped out.
Yeah, and she sort of concludes that maybe it won't be as painful because the house will look so different anyway. It's a pragmatic kind of acceptance.
Accepting the past is gone, no matter who owns the building now.
Seems like it. And then you have the father, clearly trying to find his feet outside the farm's daily rhythm.
Attempting domesticity. Listing his new signature dishes.
Shepherd's pie, lasagna, fish pie, all involving a lot of mashed potato, it seems.
While admitting he's not much of a go in the kitchen.
It's this slightly awkward attempt to build a new identity, isn't it? Trying to show competence in a different area. Signal he's coping.
But the focus is still on comfort food.
It's very human. The man ran a complex farm, but now he can reliably manage 3 oven dishes. It highlights how much of him was tied up in that business he's now struggling to leave behind.
Okay, so all this pressure, internal, external, it all seems to come to a head in this final explosive confrontation.
Over shepherd's pie, no less.
Rory arrives late, he's been out with friends, and then he drops the bombshell.
And this is where that succession ambiguity, that leadership vacuum, really proves toxic. Rory makes a big unilateral move.
Undermining everyone else.
Totally. He reveals he's gone ahead and booked that controversial holiday, paid the deposit.
And his justification.
Basically that so many people think it's too good a chance to miss. He's confusing outside opinions with family consensus.
The audacity, especially given the money worries with the sick cows they were just talking about, it's pretty stunning.
And the entitlement just ramps up when he suggests lying to the school.
Saying Martha has chickenpox to get her out for the holiday. Because chickenpox lasts ages, doesn't it?
That suggestion. It just shows a fundamental lack of ethical leadership, doesn't it? Willing to invent a lie, using a child's health to justify his own rash, self-serving choice.
It's not leadership at all.
No, it feels like this toxic mix of insecurity and maybe performative competence. Feeling the need to show power by doing something, anything, regardless of the fallout.
And the fallout is immediate. Alice just explodes.
You're so selfish. You're so unbelievably selfish. She gets it instantly.
Gets that this wasn't about the family or the farm's best interests.
Exactly. It was about Rory grabbing this personal win now, maybe before that succession window closed on him.
And then he tries to defend it with corporate speak.
Oh, yeah, someone had to make a decision, an executive decision.
Which is when Alice delivers that final crushing blow.
She doesn't even argue about the holiday itself. She attacks his right to make any decision like that.
Reminds him of a past failure. But you're not an executive. You're a 22-year-old kid who doesn't even know when a tractor's on fire.
Oof. That connection is brutal but powerful.
Why powerful?
Because it ties his current overreach, this executive decision, directly back to his perceived lack of basic competence in the actual business of the farm.
So for Alice, leadership isn't about fancy titles or bold moves.
No, it's grounded in practical skills, survival, competence. She's basically saying his executive decision is just ego, driven by his need to prove himself because the succession issue is still up in the air. Hashtag tag tag atro. So I think what we really learned from digging into the source material is the incredibly high cost of leadership paralysis.
The father avoiding the succession decision.
Yeah, that failure created this vacuum, this uncertainty. And into that vacuum steps Rory with these rash executive decisions.
That don't have consensus and mostly just highlight his own ego.
And maybe his lack of real leadership experience. It just shows. When things are tough, every little problem, a sick cow, an unpaid bill gets seen through the lens of these internal power struggles.
It's a really clear, if painful, illustration. Thanks for unpacking all that tense material with us.
My pleasure. It was quite something to go through.
And for you, our listener, here's the final thought we want to leave you with. When leadership avoids the tough conversations, it kind of creates this organizational sickness, doesn't it?
It can, yeah. Encourages others to fill the void, maybe not always constructively.
So think about your own world, your own organization. When does that drive for decisive action cross the line? When does it stop being necessary leadership and become more like, well, simple, self-serving selfishness?
Definitely food for thought there.
Thanks for diving deep with us. We'll see you next
What are
time.
you doing now?
Just getting ready for the next episode. Just
And,
moving mics around.
So what do you do?
I'll do the spot effects on the archers. Any
Are you what we
movements
call Foley then?
and- kind of. Yep.
Okay. And these are all part of the paraphernalia of production.
Yep. That's the bull bar. That's.
This one.
Yep. That's.
Haley so wanted to be in their own place when their baby came. It's due in 2 months. Not much chance of that now. No. I mean, it would have been a stretch for them financially, mind, but I just wish there was something practical I could do to help them, Caroline. I mean,
I think The Archers has had this immense popularity over the years, basically because it has always very accurately reflected the reality of life and living in a rural community, whatever